Hey everybody, welcome back to the 160th episode of Taps and Patience. I'm AJ with Subtract Manufacturing, finally back in my actual shop, here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity, who is still in the green void. How's it in the void, Harrison?
It's good, which you were gone when we did the last episode because of internet connections, but
Yeah.
I did figure out how to make the background something else, and I also found out that my computer does not have enough horsepower to do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
What are you using? Like, that's a fairly computationally light thing to do.
a computer that I built in 2016, and it was a beast back in the day.
10 years ago.
But
yeah.
It only has 4 cores. So
Okay.
I think it's a multi-core issue more than anything else. And honestly, I play games every once in a while, and I'm really starting to feel it in the games that, like, the more modern games that are using more cores. And I think that's just what it is. It's like my cores are fast enough. I just don't have enough of them.
Yeah. So now you follow the traditional method of turning this one into a NAS and then building a new one.
Probably not. I'd probably get a dedicated NAS because this thing is a power hog. Like a big, like, I'm in my office, and if I'm in here for more than like an hour or two, it gets noticeably hotter in here because of how much heat this thing pumps out.
You can't be using that much power if you're not doing something computationally expensive.
Except I got it overclocked like a lot.
Well, undo that for your NAS.
Well, I could undo that for my NAS, but it still draws a lot of power. Like it's got a lot of stuff in there, and it's not really set up to be a power efficient system. Like, I could go buy a NAS and it would probably run like 20 watts versus this thing, which is like at idle pulls like 200 watts. So
that seems excessive to me. Put like a kilowatt on that thing and actually measure it. And maybe you just need to clear junk out. Because if you are setting up a NAS, then you're probably using something like True NAS, which is Linux based, which will be way resource less intensive.
Maybe. I've tried setting it up as a Minecraft server in the past, and like it was far more efficient for me to just buy or rent a server online than it was to run it off here because of how much power this thing drew.
What's 200 watts? So 200 watts times 24 times 30 is that many watt hours. We take that, we divide that by 1,000 to get kilowatt hours, and we multiply that by what, 12 cents per kilowatt hour?
Roughly.
$17 if it's running 200 watts constantly.
It was more than that then. Like I said, that's at idle. That's with it not going.
Are you mining Bitcoin?
No.
Did you let Jacob onto your computer? Is he mining Bitcoin?
It's just an old rig.
Huh.
It's just not power efficient.
Maybe mine draws more than I think it does, but that seems excessive to me.
Well, I have it overclocked. I have a decently large GPU in it. I have water cooled, and a couple other things kicking around in there.
Is the pump for the water cooler running all the time?
Mm-hmm.
I could see that taking a fair amount.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Like, it's a great computer. It's lasted me a long freaking time, but I need to update it one of these days. And I have several people who have been hounding me to do that. And it just requires 2 things: time and money.
Yep.
So
I might update my framework laptop here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Not actually because it's falling behind. I have been perfectly happy with that laptop with its current, level of processor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I need a computer to run Mongo. I think we've decided to name this computer Mordecai, sticking with the Dungeon Crawler Carl scheme. And a Raspberry Pi is like $200 right now, or $250. And a replacement main board for my laptop is like $400. And if I replace the main board in there, I get a more modern processor and I get the old main board that is then freed up that I can use as a standalone computer. I would just need to throw in some cheap RAM and a hard drive and then put Linux on it.
To basically buy a whole nother computer.
Basically, except it's not just.
If I replace every component in this computer, I could basically get another computer for free.
Okay, the difference is I would use the RAM that I already have in my laptop in that laptop. The difference is it'd be like buying a new computer, it'd be like buying one of those little all-in-ones or a Optiplex or something. But I would also get my daily driver laptop upgraded.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe not quite a 2-for-1, but it's like a 1 for 1.5 or something like, or a 1.5 for 1. I don't know. The Framework just released the like pro version of their laptop, and it has a nicer frame and a nicer battery in it. The battery's like 60% bigger or 40% bigger than what I have in mine, and I'm very tempted to upgrade. It's like a $200 upgrade.
Yeah.
If I just buy the empty frame and then move my guts into it.
If I broke this computer down to its bare bones and detuned it, could work as a NAS.
It'd be a heck of a NAS.
It'd be a heck of a NAS, yeah. But I don't know. I'll think about it.
So we've managed to make it in 7 minutes and not talked about machines at all.
Yeah. Yeah, what type of channel are we running here?
I think everybody knows except for like that one guy that leaves comments of how we don't get to machining stuff soon enough. Machining stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, did I mention last week that we got the robot up and running fully back to round the clock?
I didn't know that it wasn't.
So it hadn't, because have I talked about this on the podcast about why it wasn't?
You may have. I don't know. Just go back to the beginning.
Well, we're trying to run a part on it, and we're doing something that we hadn't done on it yet.
Oh, 2 pockets.
2 pockets.
Yeah.
And so I finally came up with a solution that ended up fixing that. And so now it's running, and it ran from like Tuesday or Wednesday last week through the end of the week. Fine. I started it up on Sunday morning, and it's still running right now.
Nice.
And hopefully
How did you fix it?
So I actually did something pretty cool. I bought a ball detent off of McMaster car.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I didn't use the actual detent. I flipped it upside down. And I bought one that was like a smooth bore. Like it was just smooth all the way from top to bottom. It's designed as like a press-in. But I put it as a slip fit. And I bored out a hole. And I'm using the back side of the plunger to give me a long, flat face so I don't indent the aluminum part.
Ah, interesting.
And so it acts like a big plunger now that's retained. And then I put a dab of super glue on the ball when I pushed it into the hole and let it dried to retain it in there.
Huh. Hey, if it works.
So far it's been working great. And I don't even think I need the super glue, honestly, because I made it a really precise fit where it's got like that air suction. Like it's kind of hard to pull it out even without the super glue in there. It's hard to remove it. So, and
that's a cool solution.
It's been working. Yeah, I was really happy with that solution. Like I came up with a whole bunch of different ideas for how to do that, and they all had different drawbacks. And when that solution finally kind of presented itself, I'd planned on doing it the other way. I'd ordered the ball T-tents planning on using the actual ball, but after I got them in hand and I was kind of pressing them into the aluminum and kind of seeing how they left a mark, I was like, well, this isn't going to work. And so then I was like, well, what if I just turned it around? Would that work? I just made it slide, and I tried it and it worked. So
nice.
I was pretty happy with that.
Did you have to like polish it or anything?
No, it's got big enough surface area that the force it distributes is so low that it doesn't hurt the part at all.
Nice.
So very, very happy with that. So got that going. We've been busy with all the other machines, but I'm no longer behind the eight ball on any of them, except for, well, I say that, except for maybe the lathe. I've got some medical parts on the lathe that have been problematic for quite a while now, and I've gone through several different iterations, and I think I've just about got it licked. Um, but it's that knob piece I showed you a while back that had the two fins on the side of the round part, and just been I can make the part and I can make it reliably, but the problem I'm having right now is I'm running a 17.4 in a hardened condition, and I'm getting streaking of my end mills in that hardened material, and I'm using a Frasia E-cut. And I've talked to Frasia. They've given me several different speeds and feeds to try, and none of it's working. So I'm wondering if I need to change to either a different line in Frasia or try a different brand of tool. I'm not really sure what's the next thing I need to try.
Yeah. The streaking, is it coming down from just like the edge of the tool breaking down at certain points?
No, it's along the whole length of the part.
I know, but if you get like a chip in one of the flutes, you get, I don't know, kind of a.
It's brand new tools. I've replaced the tool several times with brand new, and they all have the problem. And it's across both the mill and the lathe, because the lathe, I'm seeing it there, but I also, when I run, I have a different part that's also 17.4 hardened, and the Frasia tools on the mill have the same issue.
Interesting.
So it's in two different parts, same tools, two different machines.
Chip evacuation?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Frasia seemed to think it was an SFM problem, and I tried lowering the SFM, and it helped, but it hasn't gone away.
Interesting. I haven't ran across something quite like that.
I'm gonna have to call Frasia again tomorrow and kind of tell them that it helped, but the problem still persists. And my guess is they're going to recommend a different category of tool.
Yeah, maybe just a geometry issue.
Yeah. So the problem is I need to use the tool on the lathe specifically as a rougher and a finisher. I have to use it for both because I don't have
limited tool slots.
Yes. I don't have enough tool slots. I'm using every station in the turret for this part. And I'm sure if I got more sophisticated holders, I could, maybe fit another live tool in there, but it would be very expensive to shrink things down. I've already got a lot of double station boring bar holders. I think I've got 3 in there right now, where I have 3 boring bars, or 2 boring bars in one station in 3 locations for main and sub. So it's just a lot of tools.
Yeah. That happens in a machine shop.
Yeah.
Everything always, like, the number of tools you need never decreases. It always increases with time.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because I have a lot of roughers and finishers, just so I can try to maintain some sort of tolerance over a larger run without having to change inserts constantly. So that's where a lot of that comes from. So if I decreased them down to roughers and finishers at the same one, I could reduce the turret size a lot. But I'm talking about adding a rougher and finisher for the live tooling for the same reason. So like it's obviously needed for the other tools as well. So,
yep.
But anyways, apart from that, we've been trying to get the power going, and hopefully, I don't remember if it's this week or next week. We're going to have to, I think it's next week. We're going to be shut down the shop for a day to get the power installed.
Your 400 amp upgrade. Cool.
So I believe that's what it is. Weston's been working on it in the background, and I just kind of catch bits and pieces here and there. So, and we had a delivery of gravel to the shop, so we can try to level that out some. That'll be nice.
For your parking lot?
Yeah. So, our parking lot on, we have a little stretch of concrete in front of the building. I don't know if you remember when you were there. Right directly in front of the building, you have concrete, but on either side, you have gravel. and we have some delivery trucks that like to go on the side road, and so we have to drive the forklift across. And where the gravel meets the concrete, when we first brought in a load of gravel, when we first moved in, all of that was level. But now the gravel has sunk down enough to where when that forklift goes over that, it bangs pretty bad. And if you have a load, it's trying to throw it constantly. So we brought in some more gravel, and there's other places that are kind of like that as well. But we're going to try to re-level everything out and kind of get it back up to kind of even everywhere.
Forklifts not known for their off-road capabilities.
Yeah. And ours is not not pneumatic tires. They're solid rubber, so it's really stiff.
Clunk clunk.
Yeah.
Very
stiff. It's designed to be a purely on concrete forklift is what it's designed to be.
Yeah.
It's not designed to go into gravel, or at least not loose gravel.
A lot of those forklifts aren't even designed to like go into parking lots. Like they're designed for very specific smooth concrete.
Yeah.
Warehouse conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, I would classify this one as closer to that style. We take it off road. We've gotten it stuck a couple times, but we've gotten it unstuck afterwards. So the area around the shop before we brought in a load of gravel was a bit treacherous at times. You had to pick the right path. You kind of had like lanes that you were okay and other lanes that were not. So, but anyways, other than that, I don't really have a whole lot going on. What about you?
Well, I finished up the April of craziness. April, not only did I teach a lot, but I also shipped a lot of parts. So I think like April was just slightly shy of my record ever month for Audacity Micro. And that was working like 3 days a week on Audacity Micro stuff. So machining wise, things have been crazy, but good and smooth. So going back, I can't think of a single part that there was any struggle with. I can't even think of a broken tool, honestly. There was probably a couple parts that we didn't get on the first shot, but things just kind of worked. And I now realize that I have cursed myself for this next part by saying that I didn't break any tools.
Yes, you have.
We did. I don't think we ever mentioned this. We had a crash with the intern, an intern crash. We did say this.
I feel like we did mention that.
Yeah. Where he smashed a Delrin part because he probed at the wrong offset.
Yep.
But a lot of fairly uneventful parts. I made a couple parts in May already. Some more repeat ones that I think you may have seen a picture of these. It kind of almost looks like a syringe that was a fairly large part for me. It's 3 or 4 inches long and maybe an 1.5 inches in diameter. And then it's got like a big, 3-inch slot down the center of it. So it's like a syringe with a Grand Canyon going down the end. So the two ends are floppy. Gotcha. I keep getting repeat orders of those. It would save the customer a whole lot of money if they just ordered them all at once, but they keep ordering them in onesie twosies, and I don't mind. And then I just finished up an order that had a ton of surfacing with a 32nd inch and a 20 thou ball nose. But that basically just ran like all of yesterday. I think each part had about a 2.5 hour cycle time on it. And I just set it up with 4 different parts on the same, there were 4 parts in a row on one piece of bar stock. And I just hit go. I had to make 8 parts. I just hit go and walked away for 10 hours and came back to finish parts. Oh, I broke a tool on one of those. I did break a tool. So I'm not cursed for this next part. I got a little too aggressive with my 1/32 inch ball mill and broke it on the first one of those. Then I went back to my default speeds and feeds and it was fine. But those are like a kind of like the spiky end of a meat hammer, except they were pointier, spikier spikes. And they were round spikes instead of hammery spikes, square spikes like a meat hammer would have. And I don't know, it was just a whole lot of little tiny spikes that needed a lot of surfacing. The pencil toolpath is not one that I think seen anybody else use ever, but it was handy for something like that because after I surfaced everything in with a geodesic, there was still like a little bit of some material left in the valley, and I came in with a pencil and it just cleans up the valley, no problems. It would have been really hard to program if not for the pencil toolpath.
Yeah, I've used the pencil toolpath a handful of times, and I don't use it often, but when you need it, it is really nice.
Yeah, I feel like it's one that a lot of people don't even know exists. Like, it's such a weird toolpath. It's the Nook and Crevice toolpath. Let's see. I finished up teaching the classes that I was teaching. I was spending like 3 days a week down in Bedford, Indiana, and there's not much in Bedford, Indiana. And it was like 4 hours of a metrology class, and then that group of students would leave, and I'd get a new group of students, and they had me teaching physics. That company requested me to come back and do the physics for them while I was down there. They liked my metrology class, I guess, because I've done it a couple times for them. And they're like, "Hey, we need physics. Can you do physics?" And the university went, "Sure, he can do physics." And so I taught physics. I did not prepare enough material for that class, or I did not prepare it correctly. My original class preparation I did was a lot more math heavy. And then on the first day we got into it, and it was like, oh, these are machinists. This is part of the General Motors apprentice program. They are just trying to check a box in their, apprentice curriculum. And me going into some freshman college level physics stuff is not what they need. It's not what they want. So I reworked the class from there to be a lot less math heavy. And I basically made it as broad as I could. It kind of became like first year engineering, basically, or the first 2 years of an engineering program where we touched on a lot of things very lightly. So we did like statics for a week. We did dynamics for a week. We did thermo. We did some material science kind of stuff. We hit a lot of stuff really broadly. Fortunately, they gave me zero guidance into what physics class needs to be. Literally my instructions were teach a physics class. They need this many hours worth of instruction. Go. Yeah. And so I was able to interpret that as however I wanted. And I interpreted it the way that would be, I think, the most useful to a machinist.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but I don't know. We checked the box, and that was really the only point of this class.
There's enough subjects in there that you just listed off that I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could go through all those subjects.
Well, again, I did this at a really shallow level. So we went broad and shallow.
True. That's fair.
But I don't know. They seemed fine. We did a couple different kind of activities. We did the classic straw bridge. And then on your suggestion, we did the spaghetti and marshmallow towers. We did that right after talking about beam bending. And part of the statics. It was a lot more difficult than I expected it to be.
It is.
I only left an hour for it, and I mean they could have done better with longer, but it was more challenging than I thought it was going to be.
If you get the super large marshmallows, if you get too big, it makes it harder. I think you have to get a medium to small marshmallow.
We went with the small ones.
Okay.
Let's see. We did an egg drop, which I legitimately could not work into any of the other classes I was doing. I just I wanted to do an egg drop, so we did an egg drop. And then we did a rubber band powered car is the last one, which that one was the biggest failure, because I did not give them enough time. I gave them like 45 minutes to make this rubber band powered car, but I only gave them like skewers and foam board and tape and a rubber band.
Oh, yeah, that's not enough
So
stuff.
it was too difficult. I miscalibrated on that one.
We did that, but we had like the Lego Mindstorm sets at university.
Yeah, that would have made it a lot easier. Oh, so something else that I was working on. The metrology class also covers quality. I should probably call it a quality class. And in the quality class, we cover a little bit of lean. I probably cover it heavier than they would like, but it's, something that I am passionate about. And I have been trying to find a good exercise to kind of simulate the manufacturing environment in a classroom, so you can do like lean style like improvements and stuff, and like play with things like batch size. And I have finally figured out a system that works.
What's that?
We ended up doing it a total of 4 times, where it kind of evolved each time. But in the core of the game here is not new. Like, I've seen this in videos. I think Andrew Henry and Pearson were holding. What's his name? His first name? Jay Pearson.
Jay Pearson
have talked about it a couple times on their podcast. But we did paper airplanes, except I kind of modified that game and made it about as complicated as it could possibly be.
Okay.
So I ended up getting some packs of like colored construction paper. So there were like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different colors of paper airplane. There would be orders that would come from the customer that would be like, I need 2 green planes, a blue plane, and a white plane. And there was money, so they had to buy the paper to make the airplanes. When the airplanes passed quality control, which was a certain distance they had to fly, then they would make, they would get their money back for each plane that made it past quality control. And then they would also get like, quote unquote profits from the batch. If the plane failed quality control, they didn't get their money back, which ended up being a surprisingly big deal, was getting the planes across the line, which is a good thing if you're trying to teach lean, is making defects is a important part of simulating a manufacturing system. And I vibe coded a little application that kind of made it like the game Overcooked, if you're familiar with Overcooked. So you hit go, and you had to have someone at the computer sit there and keep track of the money, because the computer kept track of the money. But it would, put up the batches on screen. It would slowly get more and more difficult over time. So, it would start off giving you like a batch of 1 plane, and you would have 2 minutes to make that 1 plane. And then it would go to 2 planes and 3 planes and 4 planes, and slowly kind of ramp it up. And then to kind of, again, simulate a manufacturing environment a little bit more, the first time I did it, actually every time I did it, one, I put the paper as far away from the paper airplane making station as possible. So that kind of simulates like a
material acquisition,
like a processing time, or even a lead time on ordering material. And I put as many like chairs and desks in the way as possible to make it, more difficult to get to. So that was actually a barrier. The first time we ran it, I made, put as many chairs in the way as possible. I put the paper far away. I didn't organize the paper. I filled their desk full of just extra junk. I gave them one place where they had to fold the airplanes. I filled the desk full with as much junk as I could. And the last step was to label each plane with a Sharpie. They had to put the batch number on it before they flew it for quality control. And I like put the Sharpie where it was kind of hidden and they didn't know where it was. And so the first time they went to do it, it was simulating like an unimproved plant. And I ran that activity 4 different times. And every single time on the first round, they did not make a single paper airplane fly before they ran out of time. And they would always grab, or they would always try to do batches that were too big, was the problem. And then we would do some like lean improvement time where they could start, getting things organized and cleaned off. They could organize their paper on the paper desk. They could start making plans about like, Kanban systems for airplanes so that the person running quality control could always have the right amount of airplanes, and minimizing inventory so you didn't run out of money, because if you ran out of money then you couldn't buy the papers that you needed to make the right airplanes. And it became rather elaborate, but a really good simulation of lean in a workplace, because essentially there was two different workstations, or three different workstations if you include quality, that kind of all depended on each other. And so there's a lot of inventory management and batch management, and then also the kind of daily lean improvements of just making sure you're not working in a dungeon so that you can work efficiently. So I need to do a video about that because it was a pretty good demonstration.
Yeah, that does sound like fun. Sounds
Again,
like
the Overcooked style, like on the projector countdown of like the different batches with different timers, worked out really well. It made it super stressful, which is exactly what I wanted.
The only thing that I could think that could make that a little more, instead of having like all your money tracked on digitally, which is nice, I could also see like a fake money ticket system where they had to turn in tickets to someone to get the money versus getting tickets at the end.
We actually tried it using markers as
currency,
as currency, and it didn't work out super well.
Oh, okay.
I think if there had been more people or like a second instructor to be able to manage the money a little bit more, but it kind of got too chaotic, and it worked better to be able to just hit buy on the computer.
Yeah. Well, I okay. I guess I'm just confused with, was only one person managing the computer and doing buy and sell all on one?
So I ended up manning the computer, and they would just look at me and shout, "Hey, I'm buying, 2 pieces of paper. I'm buying 4 pieces of paper."
Oh, okay.
That was again, if there had been more students, one of them could have, but our biggest class was like 4.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking like class sizes of like 30, and that would be almost impossible to track that way. Okay. Well, I mean, if you're under 5, then yeah, that's easy enough.
So I need to do a YouTube video about that game and then just like open source it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun to see other variations. Makes me think of like career day. My wife teaches at the high school, and every once in a while they do a career day, and that sounds like a really fun exercise to like get the students involved. Except it'd be on a much larger scale of like, a couple hundred.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work with a couple hundred. If it got much bigger, you could have 2 teams competing, and that would be interesting.
Yeah, and what I could see is each team, like if you did it on a larger scale, you break them up into groups, and you go, okay, you're going to be the assembly line method, you're going to be this method, and like break them up into different methods, and then have the different methods compete and see how they do, and then maybe switch it up if you had enough time. So
let's see, that's a lot of about teaching there. Right now I have a Schrodinger's intern. So this week, this Friday will be kind of my last scheduled day with him as intern. The machining one, not the robotics one. And I talked to him about what he wants to do longer term. I would gladly keep him on one day a week or multiple days a week. But he still has that, pretty sweet deal where he just goes and blacksmiths knives all day, on his own schedule whenever he wants, as many or as few as he wants. But it sounds like he's not super confident about the future of that company. So, he's going to have a heart-to-heart with his boss at that job to figure out where they're going. But at this point, I mean, I would happily take him, 3 days a week right now. Maybe even full-time. I told him that for me to be really comfortable with him full-time, he needs to be programming parts and kind of able to do the full stack. He's good at running the machine now. So like I would be the bottleneck in, finding work and programming it and giving it to him. But if he could just like fill in with Xometry work on his own, then it would be a pretty easy decision.
Speaking of which, you don't have the office mill anymore, right? It's completely gone?
Yeah, it's in the corner.
Oh, it's in the corner?
Yeah, it's in the corner.
Oh, I thought you got rid of it.
I almost got rid of it, and then the deal fell through. The guy just stopped responding to me. There's somebody else I'm talking to now. I'll believe it when money changes hands.
Gotcha.
So it is actively for sale. So if you're interested, send me an email, aj@subtractmanufacturing.com, and we'll get you an office mill. But yeah, it's still in the corner. It's not gone yet, but it will be at some point here. Second intern is slowly chipping away at Mongo. He is now on a like metal base that is anchored to the floor. We have a prototype. Well, it's not a gripper; it's a fork for picking up the Aero systems. It's passive. That seems like it'll work, but the material choice that we chose is not going to work out. And I have some carbon fiber nylon here. We just need to reprint it. I got some of the super hard like TPU for AMS, and I was hoping that would be stiff enough, but also super resilient. But now that I've played with it, it's just too noodly. It is super, super tough. Like the toughest 3D printed, thing that I have ever played with, but it would still bend under the weight of a heavy pallet. So
we're going to print that with nylon. A heavy pallet as? How much? I don't know.
A vice plus
5 pounds, 10 pounds.
Sure, I don't know. Those vices pallets I have are pretty light, and
I was going to say those
parts
are pretty
I make
small.
are pretty light.
So I would think a 3D print would be fine.
But well, again, a normal 3D print would be fine, but this TPU is rubber.
True.
So it bends, it sags.
That's a good point.
It would certainly survive a crash. Like that was my theory is, you go to slide underneath the vise, you miss a little bit, it hits the fork. This would shrug that off, no problem. But I don't know. I just worry about the floppy on the end of the robot. It doesn't seem optimal. So I actually have a glass reinforced version of that filament, which might be both stiff enough and tough enough. And then I also have a spool of just like carbon fiber nylon, and that'll definitely work.
Yeah. Are you going to incorporate any other? Are you going to do it as an actual 3D print, or are you going to incorporate any other materials? Are you going to make a metal version? If it
needs it.
If it needs it.
So plan A is just 3D print it and see what happens. If I need to machine it, I can machine it. But okay, so the gripper is basically designed. The auto door is mostly designed. I actually probably should 3D print some parts for that before second intern gets here on Friday. And then we started working on the shelving that will hold the pallets. So we're getting to the point where I'm going to have to actually start working on the software.
Gotcha. Is that going to be vibe coded with an AI?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then another side trail that's kind of tangentially related to machining is my intern is on a First Robotics team. And I got to go tour their building the other day, and it is incredible. I was expecting like a little hole in the wall behind the school, or like, shoved into a closet in like the gym or something. No, they have a standalone building Probably 10,000 square feet, maybe more. It's a pretty large, like 3 different buildings kind of in a cluster all connected. They have a full-sized replica of like the arena that they compete on. They've got a bunch of computers that are running Inventor and Fusion. Their 3D printing department was actually kind of lame, and I was surprised. But then they have like a welding room with when I was there was a guy just like tigging up an aluminum frame. They have a Tormach 770. They have a little like Stepcraft like router. It was a pretty cool little facility. And my intern is, well, he's probably back now, but was this week was down and competing at the first robotics world championship. And Subtract Manufacturing has our logo on the side of their robot. So technically Audacity Micro donated some money to support them, but putting the Audacity Micro logo on the side of the bot, I didn't think was very useful. So we stuck the Subtract logo on. And I might do some like mentorship with them going forwards. It was a really cool place. It was a really cool program. It was just like kids hanging out, high school kids hanging out, solving technical problems. It was like half clubhouse, half shop, which is exactly what high school kids need to, is kind of a funnel into manufacturing or engineering. Like I would have killed for this as a high schooler. So
same.
I haven't actually worked out the like whole mentorship thing with them yet. My condition's gonna be like, man, just let my oldest daughter or one of my other daughters when they're old enough hang around with me when I'm there mentoring. Like these are the people that they need to be around. The people that are excited about, building ball throwing turrets for this robot. Or, there was a guy there that was working on an alternate design for the robot and was welding up the frame, not because they needed it all, but just because he wanted a welding project and wanted to learn how to TIG aluminum. So he was just TIGging aluminum. There was a girl there that was playing the Star Spangled Banner on their Tormach 770.
How are they? Which, like with a speaker or like with like the movement of servos or spindle?
With the movement, with the stepper motor noises.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And like she was like, yeah, we've seen people do this with like 3D printers before, and that was, that is what there is. There's programs that do it online. But she was like, that seemed a little bit too boring for me. So I took it and I wrote a piece of software that will let me do it, or let me use the X, Y, and Z independently to do a 3-part harmony. And I think I'm the first one to do that. And it's like, good for you, kid. Like, this is not a useful project by any means, but I'm sure you learned a lot and you're going to be set up well for whatever you do. Yeah. And so it's like, I just want my kids to hang around these kids.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So, Audacity Micro will probably do some sort of fundraiser for them in the future. Maybe we'll get the Taps and Patience group in on this. We'll see. We can put the Taps and Patience logo on the side of their robot.
There you go. Because breaking taps is something that will definitely happen.
Yes, except that's a different channel.
That is a different channel.
Yeah, I'm sure I would be willing to bet there are multiple broken taps inside that robot right now as it competed.
Undoubtedly.
And last I saw, they were ranked like 23 in the world. So
that's not bad at all.
Good for them. Yeah, they're a pretty good team, apparently. Do you know who else is a good team?
I do, but I'm ready for you to say it this time.
It's our Patreons. So our Patreons get access to our team Discord, as we're going to call it today, which is a super awesome community, kind of like that First Robotics place. There's a lot of conversation about business, about machining, about troubleshooting problems. I have been sharing some greenhouse updates as I've started the greenhouse to end all greenhouses for my wife. And that is exclusive to the Patreon Discord. There's my plug. If you want to see the bare bones of a greenhouse, they're in there. all Patreons, even if you join at the free tier, get to participate in our Q&A, which is a little bit naked this week, but last week I think we had a ton.
Yeah.
So we'll get them more questions next week. But if you want to participate in that and you don't want to pay, that is fine. Just go join Patreon under the free tier. You'll still need an account. You will not get early access to our episodes. You will not get access to the Discord, but you can Q&A it. All paid members do also get early access to our episodes, which I don't think I've mentioned in like months. And then there's the Patreon Discord. Early access episodes normally come out the day that we record too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
and that will probably be less.
Doesn't mean much when we do it late in the week, though.
Yeah, when AJ doesn't have internet in Bedford. They might be a little bit delayed as Jacob is off getting married or something like that, but we'll still find a way to make it happen.
There you go.
All of the Patreon money is going to go to getting us to IMTS this year. We will be doing a meetup on Tuesday. Is that what we decided? Yeah, Tuesday. Yes. At the Tormach booth. We still haven't asked them, but I'm sure they'll allow us.
I was going to say, have you asked them yet?
Unspecified time. No.
That's where we needed to go. Norm.
Yeah, norm. That reminds me. I got an email from someone in Tormach. I need to answer that. But yeah, Tormach booth meetup. Bring a part. Also, the what's the podcast name? Anchor Point guy, JSpec Engineering. We had him
Jamie?
on the podcast. Loan Machinists. The Loan Machinists are having their meetup on Monday, and then Within Tolerance is having a meetup on Wednesday, which is traditionally at the Kern booth.
Yep. Yeah, which I won't be there except Tuesday and Wednesday, so I will miss the Jamie's, unfortunately.
That's too bad. I will be there like the whole time because my IMTS video that I recorded last year is still making like $30 a month or more and has ever since then. So I'm going to record a lot of IMTS videos this
There you go.
round. We have new Patreons, Jace V, CJ at CS Machine and Fabrication, and someone named E ... Nice. I don't know if that's their actual name in Patreon or if that is the note that Jacob added. I don't know which is more funny.
I don't know. Is it like Horse Pulverizers Incorporated, or is it just we just say E?
I don't know. Unless Jacob corrects me, I'm going with someone named E Nice.
E Nice.
E ... Nice. And then also we have our top Patreon, who is at the sponsor the show tier. Mm-hmm. And that is G28 Machining. G28 Machining is a precision. I haven't read this one out loud yet. Sorry. G28 Machining is a precision CNC job shop focused on solving tough problems, reverse engineering, repair work, production overflow. We run live tool lathes. That's them, not me. And 5-axis milling capable. 5-axis milling to handle complex parts efficiently. We're also an 0722 FFL manufacturer producing firearm components like silencers. If you got a problem or need reliable backup capacity, send it our way. G28 Machining. I'm sure we'll have a link somewhere. Mm-hmm. Thank you guys for supporting us. They are not like a traditional sponsor. They are supporting us through the Patreon, by the way. So I will get better at reading that with practice. Right now, my mouth feels like cotton after doing that. I don't know. Then we also have our Patreons that are at the $15 a month and up tier. CJ at CS Machine and Fabrication, Mike at G28 Machining, our sponsor, Brian at Headco, Ben at Black Fox. We talked about Headco and if he made combs. I looked it up on his website and I forgot what it stands for, but Headco was like a abbreviation or a portmanteau, and he does like engineering and it's something engineering and design company, Headco. Ben at Black Fox, Matt at Modern Fuel, Russell M, Joseph E, Brian B, Jacob S, Chris at CDS Plastics, John S, Alex H, Avery M, Chris B at Puda Creek Precision, Josh at Leighton Machine, Millen Y, Devin C, Alex at Mill City Roasters, Christian O, Stephen M, Horse Pulverizer Incorporated, Daniel R, James, and Moultrie Maid, who is now on the Subtract Network. Ryan at Strato. Oh, and I need to send money to. Ryan at Strato Manufacturing, Kyle at Kursk Machines. Oh, I can't send him money because we haven't onboarded him all the way yet. Devin at Sinister Machine Works, Greg at Frogtown Manufacturing, James N, Ben at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S, Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zon and Precision, Jason S, Joshua H, Christian Z, Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z, 2Z Systems, Trey V, Alexander B, Scott at Design the Everything, Jamie at Nautical Work Holding, but Nautical spelled wrong, Chris at Zyke Precision, EJ at Nocturnal Welding, Chris at Thought Bomb Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson. Also, I really need to buy nauticalworkholding.com, but spelled like naughty, and just redirect it to Jamie's website. I swear this Patreon read is like speech therapy.
It is. It really is.
I have gotten better at tongue twisters and general talking good since I've started reading this list every week.
Well, what I thought was funny is basically you were having a conversation with yourself while you're reading it. Oh, I need to pay him. Oh, wait, no, I can't pay him yet. Like all this while you're reading the list.
He is set up for onboarding tomorrow. So he's already made and shipped parts, but we need to finish getting him set up in our system to pay him. So
there you go. Just
one question on our Q&A, Ashton G, which wasn't on that list, which means they might be a free Patreon, which you could be too. They might also be a Patreon at the Buck Up Show tier, but more on the offset triangle tab method, question mark, parentheses, Jacob doesn't know what this means. I know what this means.
So why don't you inform everyone else so everyone else knows?
I just did a lot of talking.
Okay. Well, thankfully we talked a little bit about this before, so I also know what it means now. But the triangle method is basically whenever you're tabbing off, having 3 points that are non-planar of tabs. That way your part is still rigid but easy to break off.
Like a 5-axis part.
Yeah.
You're tabbing it off. Yeah.
Or 4-axis.
Yeah, it works for 4-axis too.
And it technically works for 3 because you could, with a slitting saw, you could come in from one side and then come in from the other side and leave 3 tabs depending on how your part looks. I have done that before too.
Really? Mm-hmm. Does the saw mind doing kind of a plunge cut? Because I've always been too afraid because of the plunge cut required.
Well, I do it as like a circle. Like I do it where it sweeps in and then out. Where it's not a straight plunge. And I try to size, like the parts I've been able to do that way, I size it to where, hopefully depending on the side of the part, where I can come in and I'll get 2 tabs on one side and then the other one I'll do 2 scallops from and leave you can get 3 basically. 3 tabs, doing it that way.
I haven't tried that yet. I should. On these parts I did the classic come in and tab one side slit one side with a slitting saw and then slather them in hot glue and then do the other side. I don't know how well that would work for heavy parts, but these things were about the size of a Lego and they worked fine. I think where I've mentioned about this before, I was doing it on some part and Dylan Jackson from the Real Machining podcast walked me through his method. And he basically does 3 of like this, what I would call an ob round, but like the slot tool in Fusion. It's like a rectangle with a full radius circle on the end. He does 3 of those in a sketch along the bottom of his part. And then he does a contour toolpath with a ramp on each of those. 2 from one side, 1 from the other side. And they overlap correctly to give you 3 tabs.
Gotcha.
I wish I could explain this better, but I still have, on my phone, took a picture of the screenshots that he sent me. And every time I do it, I have to pull up those screenshots to remember exactly how those slots are overlapped. Yeah. But there's like 1 in the middle and then 2 on the sides. And you end up with a tab. if you have let's say you have a square part that you've overlaid on a clock, you have a tab at like 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock. That was so much more clear, I'm sure.
So everyone, get your clocks out. Make sure it's not a digital one.
Okay, let's do this. Dylan Jackson, would you please record a YouTube video with me explaining this? Yeah, I would love to make a YouTube video on it, but Dylan is the master. So maybe I could just like record a screen, like a podcast with him, an episode with him where he walks through it. I think that would be helpful for the community.
Definitely.
But I was able to get tabs that were pretty thin. I think I was going for like 5 thou thickness, and a pretty thin width, maybe 10 or 20 thou. And then because it's 3 tabs, I found that they were really easy to sand off on. Just like I have a big piece of bulletproof glass that I got from a project that we did in my old job for a prison. But you could do it with a surface plate too. And, put sandpaper on there and go back and forth. Because it's 3 points of contact, it smooths them very evenly. And I mean, you end up with a little bit of a grain on that side of the part, but it's looks good. Like it comes out looking good. And you could always make leave 10 extra thou on that face and then flip it into a set of soft jaws and machine off the backside or whatever, if you really needed to.
Yeah.
Did we answer that question?
I think as good as you can without some sort of visual aid beyond a digital clock.
Hey, it was an analog clock, sir. I would like to say that the people who are watching the video which you subscribe to on YouTube, would get a clearer picture of what I was describing, but they did not. Even though I was making the hand gestures, it did not help.
When you have square, tab here, and here.
Yeah, there you go. That one worked. See, you understood what I meant.
Yes, but I've done this before too.
Yeah. The main thing that, like, the biggest takeaway I had from Dylan's method was, 1, like the 3 slots overlapping, and then 2, using a 2D contour with a ramping lead in, left a lot better finishes on the bottom than everything else I had tried. So that was kind of the key takeaway.
Fair enough.
Because then you're not plunging or anything violent.
Yeah. Makes it vibrating.
Yeah. The other thing I have been working on is, I think I talked about a couple of my little vibe coded applications. I had one that managed material certifications, and that one's been working super well. And now all of my material has really fun names. And then I did one that would generate setup sheets. And then I had one more. Oh, it was managing metrology tools and their calibration. And I finally accepted that those all need to be merged. And now they are all merged into one program that I had been calling AMERP, for the Audacity Micro ERP. And I've been kind of slowly chipping away on that as I've been doing other things. And it does all of those things that I already mentioned, plus job management. So it's not in production yet because I'm still playing with it. But it's a very rudimentary ERP at this point. My plan is to get it to the point where it does all of the stuff that you would need to do for ISO 9001. And at that point, I will open source it. So, and I'll probably also do a YouTube video where I'm like, okay, this is how you take this project and put it into Claude Code or whatever that's called, or ChatGPT Codex, and this is how you can make your own changes, and kind of give people a template that they can use to make their own custom ERP from. But It's amazing what you can do nowadays with codecs or quad code.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just remembered I have my own ChatGPT model. He's called Ben, and I just put him on it.
Yeah.
So he actually did programming for a living. So before us, but I have him. He's starting to work on changing up our post processor, adding in a bunch of edits that we want. So,
okay. This is. I'm going to ask you for an info dump that I did not prepare you for. ISO 9001. How do?
Hard.
Well,
There's
okay. You guys are AS 9100,
correct.
which,
And
to my understanding, includes ISO 9001 plus other stuff.
Correct.
So, ISO 9001, how do?
Buy ProShop, hire ProShop to prepare you.
Give me like an overview of what you need to have to be an ISO 9001 shop.
So when we did it, we basically bought a module from ProShop that made us basically ISO 9001 ready. And then I had to do a whole bunch of training based on that, based on the stuff that they provided to prepare us. But what it boils down to more than anything is processes. All your inspection equipment has to be certified. And you have to know what jobs are at what machine, at what times, at what stages. And if anything goes wrong, everything has to be documented. What went wrong has to be documented. The parts have to be destroyed or damaged in a way that they can't be assumed to be good. You have to physically do something to the parts, and they have to be quarantined from everything else. It's a lot of, and there's a lot of stuff beyond that, but like from like the practical standpoint of what you deal with on a day to day, is a lot of, you have to know where everything's at any given point, and there has to be travelers with everything, and if anything that requires certifications has to be tracked, whether that be material or inspection equipment. Like it's just documentation, and process.
So if you are, doing production on a part and you break a tool, does that get I'm blanking on what the ISO 9001 name
NCR.
is. Yeah, does that get a NCR, or is that just like a oopsie, we fix it?
Nope, it gets an NCR.
Even if it's just a broken tool.
Well, if it depends on if it breaks the part, if it hurts the part. If it hurts the part to where the part has to be scrapped, then yes. If the part does not have to be scrapped, then no.
Interesting.
So, like, if I'm running a part and I break a tap, that's an NCR because the part's scrap unless I can find a way to get the tap out. If I'm roughing a part and the rougher breaks, but the part's okay and nothing else is damaged, then I just replace the tool and keep going. It's not going to hurt anything.
Do you know if that is actually a requirement for ISO 9001,
Yes.
or is that just a thing that people do?
No, it's required. If any part is scrapped for any reason, it's based on the part, not the tool. So if the part is damaged, it doesn't matter why. It has to be tracked.
But when does it get defined as a part?
After it's saw cut.
After it's saw cut?
Yeah. So if any point from after it splits off that main material till a finished part, it is considered in process. And if that stock of material ever gets to a point where it cannot be transformed into the part it was intended to, it needs a non-conformance report generated.
So if you cut the part to 3.5 inches instead of 4 inches, that would still be an NCR?
You can create an NCR at the saw if the part is cut wrong.
That seems excessive to me.
The guy, I argued with him on the saw because I didn't think it made sense until I was about red in the face. And he said, this is the letter of the law. This is what you have to do. And I agree with you. Like, I do not think that if I cut the material wrong, or if the material is cut wrong, that we can't just stick it on the shelf. Even if I can't track it anymore based off material, I can go, okay, this material is no longer tracked. I can't tell you which batch it came from. It goes on a shelf. I cannot be used on jobs that require material tracking. It could be used for fixtures, jigs, whatever. Like it can't be used on customer parts at that point. Which that's another thing. When you are a ISO 9000, AS 9100, every single customer has to have a material cert for the work you do for them, unless they opt out of it. It's an opt out, not an opt in. So, we have customers that we have to ask them to opt out, and we have to have that on file so that we can do stuff that is not tracked for them.
Interesting.
So, once you do that, you have to track all material through your shop, period. End of story.
Yeah. Nope. Which at this point, all new material that's coming in, I am tracking.
Yes.
It gets assigned a lot number, a lot name. You know, I think one of them out there is Ready Gray Salmon. That's some 7075 that just came in. Like that is all being tracked right now. Obviously, I have a bunch of old material that I'm not tracking yet.
Yeah.
Well, will not be tracking at all ever.
Yeah, we have somewhere around 25% of old material that is not being tracked, or that we do not have that information for. And that's material that can go to customers that do not require material certs.
Okay.
So,
I know there are some requirements. Nope, go on.
I was going to say also, your material, if it is being tracked, has to be kept in a separate location physically from your non.
Which my stuff is mixed together, but that's an easy solve later. I know there are some requirements about how you work with like subcontractors and outside vendors.
Yes.
What is that like?
So Weston's been working on that primarily, but you have to do a risk assessment essentially. And I don't know all that's involved, but I know part of that is every time we do work with them, we have to grade them. And we have to have history of that.
Okay.
And then if there's problems, we have to have it documented, and we have to reach out to the suppliers, and all of that correspondence has to be documented. It goes into their grade.
Okay. Does ISO specify any sort of a grading system, or is that all just kind of up to you?
I don't know about the difference between ISO and AS 9100 at this point, just because we were doing them both at the same time. I don't know which ones specifically apply to which ones.
Okay. But in your current system, did you get to choose how they were graded, or
no? There are some specific questions and things that are required.
Okay.
So like you do have some stuff that's a little bit to your discretion, but like there's like a framework that you have to fit it in.
Yeah. What about customers and like accepting orders and that kind of stuff? Because I know there's some like review requirements on like new POs coming in and quotes and that kind of stuff.
I don't think that side as much from what I remember. I don't think we have to do as much on that side. Because like when they come in, we have to follow all the standards unless they opt out. So that side doesn't really matter. The only time that there is like there is a little bit of a feasibility, as we have to make sure we can do the parts before we accept them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we have to really document that to the same degree as like the grading system for our vendors.
Okay. What about like your work processes and your job processes? That all gets covered under ISO, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you have like a standard of work or whatever you want to call it for like your saw? Do you have a procedure written out for cutting material and that, like everything like that?
We don't have a procedure. We're small enough that like that is some of that stuff is areas where our the guy who audited us said it's not a major infraction, but it's something that as we get bigger, we'll need to get filled in.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought with ISO you had to have a process for anything that you did.
Yes, but not in the way that I think you're thinking. The process is the material has to be cut to spec.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like, that is the process. Like, it's not like I have to load in the material and I have to, do these
set the saw to setting number 4 and use a 40 tooth blade, and okay.
Like, it's not that detailed. It's like, it's more along the lines of, I need to cut the material at the saw. It needs to be to length. And then where does it go from there? Does it go directly to the machine? Does it go to a holding area? What is the workflow? It's more about how it flows through the shop and how you're tracking it at each station and how you're making sure that the part is still good at each station. Not necessarily specifically what you have to do, just that everything is tracked. How do I know that what I'm looking at is a good part? How do I know it's a bad part? How am I validating that? That's the stuff that's more processy.
Yeah.
It's not like, I have to have a process where I have to use this tool and, I have to use, all that stuff is like, they don't really care about that stuff. They want to know, is that part a good part? If it gets dropped, what do you do? If it gets damaged over here, what do you do? If it gets damaged to the machine, what do you do? They want to know. They want to be able to track when stuff goes wrong, and otherwise, they want to know that it went through the process correctly.
When you drop a part, what do you do?
It depends. If it's raw material, nothing. If it damages the part, then it gets scrapped, and you have to create an NCR.
Okay. How are you disfiguring your parts enough to satisfy?
I take it into the grinding room and I hit it on the grinder in a visible location.
Okay.
Like at a spot where if you were examining the part, you'd go, someone put this to a grinder on a corner or on an edge where it's like very obvious that something's wrong.
Can you just use the red marking fluid that you spray on?
No.
Really?
It has to be a permanent disfigurement in some way. And the reasoning that they give is, it makes sense. I don't think I'm in an area of the country where this would ever happen. But the idea is, if I take the material to scrap, what solves someone from grabbing it out of the scrap and selling it as a good part?
Sure. Yeah.
So paint does not work. It has to be physically maimed in a way to where they could not try to pass it off as a good part and resell it on behind when it goes to recycle.
There's got to be some sort of spray that is ISO compliant. It etches it or something. But interesting.
They want it physical, not a spray.
How have you felt the paperwork burden to be?
We were already doing most of it, just with the ProShop system. That's why we got it. Honestly, if we weren't doing ISO 9000, I probably would have gotten something other than ProShop, because I think there's a lot of other ones that are probably a lot smoother and easier to use than ProShop. But ProShop is built around ISO and AS9100, so it is just using that system the way it's intended to be used. You're pretty much there as long as you're doing all the other documentation stuff around it.
Yeah.
So we have travelers in our shops. We're tracking all the information. The biggest thing that we need to do better at is documenting the inspected measurements and into ProShop instead of having them as external documents. And just ProShop can do all that stuff. That's the area where we are the weakest in, that we are working on improving.
Is ProShop ITARS compliant?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is.
Does it run locally or is it cloud?
It's a cloud. It's their cloud, but I think it is ITAR compliant, but I don't know without like double checking. I haven't done anything ITAR related on it. I will say that. So we've only ever taken one ITAR job, and it was Zometry, and it was right after we got ITAR, and we haven't ever done another one since.
Yeah. You have to re-up ITAR every year, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if we have.
That was going to be my next question is, do you?
I don't think we have. I don't know if we have or not. I'd have to... That's something like a lot of the certifications, licensing, keeping all that stuff up to date, that falls under Weston's. I make parts.
We're looking at getting Subtract ITARs compliant at some point here. As a stopgap, it would not be that difficult to get me ITARs compliant. Mm-hmm. Basically everything I have, like I'm almost have everything in place. I just need to go through and double check and confirm. And I have some like networking stuff that needs to change, but that would be pretty quick and easy. Subtract, we would need to migrate hosting to like GovCloud or whatever it is. And according to Jacob, it's something that's very easy for us to do. Like it's a couple accounts and a couple of like, switching URLs or whatever in the back end. I don't know, Jacob stuff. But it would like triple our hosting costs, which it would not be the end of the world. But also we haven't really needed it yet. So how much more money do we want to bleed a month from software?
So just a quick Google search on is ProShop ERP ITAR compliant? It is.
Okay. Well, that's good. I have a correction from probably the last episode I was on. So I think I said that Gimbal Automation was importing their little spinny window things. And apparently they do make those in-house.
Oh, really?
So, yep, I got a message from their Instagram account about about that. And so, well, thank you guys for the correction. Now, don't sue us. So.
Oh, goodness. Oh, that's cool. I wonder how they do that.
I don't know.
In-house. Because they got to be buying the glass from someone.
He said in-house and like with their partner shop. So it's their design that they're having stuff custom machined for them. I don't think they're doing all of the machining themselves.
Oh, okay.
But they're not like it's their design. They're not importing them.
Yeah, it's not imported. That's the main thing.
So, okay. Well, did we do the thing?
I think we did the thing. Well, guys, this is the shortest podcast we've had in a while. Just a little over, just under an hour and a half. I feel like that's short for us. So,
and with your intro, we might get there, or your outro.
Yeah, well, hang on. We'll see how long I can drag it out. Thanks for hanging out and listening to us. If you like the podcast, please like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. I believe that we are still missing subscriptions on our YouTube channel to get monetized. So
we need
please,
we need 1,000 subs.
We need 1,000 subs, and we are not there yet. So please subscribe, and if you are subscribed, please ask others too. So, do you know what we're up to currently? Are you looking that up?
That's 311.
311.
So we're a third of the way there.
So keep the subscriptions
way
coming.
Past watch time and views requirements.
Okay.
But we need more subscribers.
More subscribers. You heard it here first, or second, or I don't know, however many weeks we've been saying it.
160. No. Okay.
All right, guys. We will catch you next week.
Bye.
One of a kind.